Okay, so the 12 became 4 times 3, because 4 is a perfect square. Square root of 4 becomes 2, and then 5 minus 2 is 3. I almost said 5 minus 3. 5 minus 2 is 3. Because once I did this, the square root of 3 is the square root of 3. Matched, just like I thought it would. And then 5 minus 2 gives me the 3 there. Okay, this is just like 5x minus 2x equals 3x. You have 5 square roots of 3. You take away 2 of those square roots of 3. You're left with 3 square roots of 3. Okay, we can do some multiplication as well. So let's look at this right here. So the distributive property, you just multiply that, and then you multiply that and that. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember, multiply the numbers out front together. That's going to be 4. And the numbers inside together. That's going to be square root 60. Okay. Now, when I take 2 square root of 10 times 3, well, the numbers out front, this counts as a number out front because there's no radical. So 3 times 2 will give me 6. And this doesn't have a radical at all. So square root of 10 times nothing extra is still the square root of 10. Okay, these don't match. I can't add them up. Something I can do is right here, though. If you look at 60, and every time you have a number under a radical, you have to look at it and think what squares will go into this. Of course, the square has to be less than that number for it to go into it, so there aren't really that many numbers to check. Use your calculator or your brain real quick. 4 will go into this. 4 goes into 60 15 times. You know, a quarter hour. 15 minutes, so maybe that's the way you can remember that. So, and even if I had a number like if 4 didn't go into it, 3, divide 9 into it, divide 16 into it. You just have to check a few numbers because the squares get big kind of fast. Okay, I'm almost there. The square root of 4 becomes 2. Again, I don't like to do a whole new line just to write that out. Let me write my final answer here. I just have to take the 4 times 2 to finish this up. So 8 square root 15 plus 6 square root 10. There we go. And that's your final answer. So, the numbers underneath 15, no squares go into it. 10, no squares go into it. And these are different. They can't combine together, so leave them alone. Okay. Let's look at this next one here. When you square something, you take it times itself. So I will encourage you to write it out twice. Okay. To multiply these together, I'm going to use the grid. You could just FOIL it out like you may have seen before. I know we mentioned it briefly before, but I didn't really stress that on you to use that method too much. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the grid. So I have 11, square root 11 and square root 2. Then square root 11 and square root 2. Now for a matter of proficiency, when you multiply square root 11 and square root 11, don't take 11 times 11. A square root times the same thing, it's just the number under it. Okay? If you do 11 times 11, you'll get 121, but the square root of 121 is 11. So in the same vein, square root 2 times square root 2, that's going to be 2. Don't multiply together and then take the square root. That's just not as fast as we need to be. Okay? So the square root of 11 times the square root of 2, that's square root 22. This is also square root 22. Okay, so what I have here, I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms. 11 plus 2 is 13. So everything in here, we're going to add them together. Square root 22 plus square root 22 is 2. I have 2 of them. Square root 22. There we go. So to square that, write it out twice. Put those on the ends, fill in the grid. And there's my final answer. Okay, this will take some vertical room on your page, but don't sweat that. Okay, I have a couple try-its here for you. And let me see. Beautiful. Go ahead and try those out.